Welcome back to Enter Cheat Code. Today we're here to talk about why the Xbox and Xbox Series X strategy are garbage and how xbots are ruining the Xbox. First and foremost, let me start by saying console wars are complete trash. The level of brand loyalty is sickening at times, and the rhetoric spouted between fanboys is almost as repulsive as the political climate that I have been subjected to over the last 4 years, except the stakes are nowhere near as high, contrary to what one might believe when you see the intensity, passion, and what often degrades into illogical, baseless trash talk within the gaming community. I often wonder what was the singular moment in this country where being able to have a dialogue supported by facts and reason stopped being possible. Oh yeah, in 2016. Well, we're here to talk about games, and at Enter Cheat Code, we always do our best to present information about all consoles in the most unbiased fashion. We celebrate where appropriate, as you can see, giving Microsoft lots of love in our recent Game Pass vs PS Plus collection video, linked down below, but we also call out the companies and their fans when necessary. So without further ado, Microsoft and Xbox fanboys, you may want to leave now, as we are going to absolutely roast Microsoft Xbox Series X's strategy, along with calling out you, the Xbox fanboys, on a narrow-minded mindset that has resulted in the decimation of Xbox One this console generation and a terrible game plan for the upcoming generation. Before we dive fully deep into an analysis of Xbox's strategy and why it's flawed, let's establish a universal understanding that Xbox One lost the last console generation, coming in dead last. We can look at these sales figures. As I mentioned, we need to have an argument based around logic and reason. As of August 2020, cumulative sales of Sony's PlayStation 4 had risen to nearly 113 million units, with its third and fourth year sales beating its year 1 and 2 sales, which is a testament to its continued demand and success. While Xbox One's global sales numbers as of September 2020 were at 48.34 million units. Sony's PS4 almost outsold Xbox 3-1. If this is not evidence enough that Microsoft is getting owned, Xbox One launched in November of 2013. The Nintendo Switch came out 4 years later in March of 2017. And has already surpassed Xbox sales in just 4 years, sitting at 65 million consoles sold. Now that it has been undeniably well established that Xbox is in last place, don't you dare bring up the Wii U. We all know that garbage is better forgotten. So let's examine why Xbox One failed so miserably and how the fans are to blame, and how the current Xbox Series X strategy will once again result in Microsoft coming in dead last. Again, if they don't change course quickly. We cannot fully explore or understand Xbox Series X failures without looking at the past first, as it is about to repeat itself again. So let's go back in time. While Xbox's failures come from a combination of the company and its fans, I will start by blaming the fans, the Xbox fanboys, also known as xbots. You all need to do better. There is a lot of narrow-mindedness that has pressured the company to make bad decisions, and a lack of willingness to support heavy-hitting games. There is really more than just Call of Duty and the yearly Assassin's Creed, guys. Xbox One was dead on arrival because of the visceral, narrow-minded response from fans when the console and its strategy were annihilated upon being revealed at E3, never giving Microsoft a chance to implement and demonstrate their forward-thinking and progressive console strategy. One aspect revealed about the Xbox One is that it would require to always be online. This would allow the console to push game and software updates freely, along with downloading titles while you were away at work. The notion of a console requiring an internet connection in order to function, and the creative director Adam Orth's response to said issue would be met with a backlash so intense and inappropriate that there would be threats against his life made, and he would move homes out of fear for safety as well as his family's. Xbox fanboys, you were wrong. We live in a connected world that is always online. The future that Microsoft was marching us towards was the one that was absolutely inevitable. The company had the forward thinking, attempting to usher us into a golden age of convenience, instant digital gratification, and consumer-centric updated software products. We live in a world of always online everything. The most popular games are online only, many of these requiring online subscription-based services such as Xbox Live and PS Plus in order to play. Proof is in the pudding, with Xbox top 10 most played games currently: Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, Rocket League, Grand Theft Auto, NBA 2K1, Rainbow Six Siege, Minecraft, Roblox, and Destiny 2. As you can see, almost every game on the list is online only, or the only reason it is currently on this list is because of its online component, such as NBA 2K1 and Grand Theft Auto Online. Yes, while some of these games, certain components can be played offline, because you know damn well if the internet goes down, you're just gonna lay in bed sad, waiting for the glorious blessing of civilization to be returned to you. So ultimately, Xbox in this instance would do the cowardice thing and back down on forward progress, and it became our reality within 5 years. Nobody complains about always online now. Another area where Xbox fanboys got it wrong, again, as Microsoft would predict the inevitable future once again, and that is how game sharing would take place. Microsoft knew that physical media is a dying commodity and had been and will continue to be. Based on my analytics, 100% of my audience is between 25 and 34. So I know all of you remember a time when Netflix used to mail us DVDs. We are now so indoctrinated into the digital age that such a notion is laughable, and our kids barely know what a DVD is, let alone we had movies mailed to us. How we consume media has changed. The physical format is dying. Just look at the music industry. They realized they couldn't fight progress or pirates, so they made streaming music easier and more convenient than pirating it, and at a price point many people wouldn't notice leaving our bank accounts. Once again, I know y'all remember LimeWire, downloading a file only to be Apple, Spotify, and Amazon alone have a total subscriber base of 245 million. So why do gamers fight against the progress that has taken place across all other entertainment outlets? Once again, Microsoft was simply bringing us closer to the inevitable. Digital game purchases completely dominate how PC games are digested. In 2013, when Xbox One launched, physical sales for computer and video games accounted for only 46% of all sales, as opposed to 54% being digital. In 2018, digital sales now make up 83% of all sales, with only 17% being physical. This number is probably shockingly higher as a result of recent events keeping us locked up and leaving our house less often. Under Microsoft's proposed plan, the game disc would be tied exclusively to that console, which essentially functioned as an access code. Once again, something the PC world has done forever. They even had elements in play that would allow us to play our games on multiple machines. This plan was attacked by consumers, and even Sony poked fun at Microsoft.
This is how you share your games on PS4. Thanks.
PlayStation.
This plan essentially would have killed the used gaming market, so obviously companies like GameStop would be very opposed to this. Game developers, on the other hand, would be very happy as they do not make a single penny off used game sales. Maybe this would have been a way to avoid the supplementation of rising development costs through loot boxes and microtransactions, as publishers would make more money off game sales. What a glorious world it would be if said predatory practices were not in games. Xbox fanboys and consumers alike would go insane at the prospect of not being able to simply share or sell a game after they used it, as the disc would simply work for installation purposes or as an access key. Yet here we are, in a nearly all-digital world, with upcoming consoles having digital-only models at cheaper prices, which, if I had to guess, will be the more popular option, as Sony and Microsoft will have incentive to push those models, as ultimately software sales are most important. And they each have a monopoly on their digital storefronts, unlike the world of PC, who has Steam and Epic Store amongst others. We have seen year-over-year digital sales growth since 2009, so why was the response so visceral? I will admit, the Xbox One rolling out did have some disastrous elements that play a major factor in hurting the console's success, such as its very expensive price point, coming in at $499, which was $100 more expensive than its competitor, focus on being a home entertainment machine as opposed to a console for gamers, and forcing the Kinect down consumers' throats despite the appeal of motion controls waning as they attempted to shamefully replicate the success of the Nintendo Wii. This showed a lack of connection and understanding with who their audience actually was. Keep exercise out of our games. Look at the different world we live in. Back in 2013, we were complaining about them shoehorning exercise into our games. And here in 2020, we complain about keeping politics out of our games and willingly choose to exercise with video games like Ring Fit for Nintendo Switch, selling 5 million units.
Nah, you've changed, man.
A large part of the Xbox's failures was the fanboys and consumers alike, bullying the Xbox into being something it wasn't and slowing down an inevitable future in which they were not wrong about. This close-mindedness from Xbox fanboys and consumers alike, combined with Microsoft's being tone deaf of their audience, would contribute to abysmal sales. Let's get down to the crux of the issue. Where the hell are all the quality console exclusives, and why do Xbox gamers always neglect the rare gems that they do get, which causes an exodus of what were once exclusive titles? There was never much incentive to buy an Xbox One outside of their very limited first-party exclusive offering, with them banking on the same franchises over and over again, like Gears, Halo, and Forza. This is odd considering that they had many locked-in third-party exclusives in the 360 days, despite that being a generation of fading exclusivity, with major brands previously exclusive to Sony, such as Grand Theft Auto 4, Metal Gear Solid 4, and Final Fantasy XIII, going multi-platform for the first time in over 2 console generations. Just 1 console generation removed, and the Xbox has little to no heavy-hitting third-party exclusives. In fairness, this is not unique to Microsoft, as Nintendo Switch has this exact same problem on a grander scale, as not only can they not lock in third-party exclusives, they can barely lock in day-and-date multi-platform titles from third-party developers without noticeable dips in quality, or this new cloud-based gaming they pushed first with Resident Evil 7 and now Control. But that will be addressed in Nintendo Switch's roast video. So what happened? Well, part of Microsoft's problem is that Sony was playing for keeps with the next and current console generation after the major fumble that was the PS3, starting out with a $600 price tag amongst many other issues. Sony had a very aggressive strategy that hurt Microsoft immensely, and that was that they were willing to spend money like it was nobody's business. Due to willingness to drop money, they locked in exclusives such as Street Fighter V, Persona 5, Bloodborne, all of Insomniac's library prior to the recent acquisition, with the exception of Sunset Overdrive, which we will talk about soon, It is also worth noting when I say all of Insomniac's library, that includes 2018's Spider-Man, who is arguably the most popular and beloved superhero of all time. So that moves the needle like you wouldn't believe, selling 13.2 million units. So let's examine a major issue. When Xbox does get exclusives, they perform horribly, despite being critically praised and simply amazing games. To illustrate this point, Insomniac's Spider-Man, as mentioned previously, sold 13.2 million units, and the game was amazing, being a serious contender for Game of the Year in a year that included Red Dead 2 and 2018's God of War. So you cannot simply make the argument of brand recognition and licensed product. The game was great, receiving a Metacritic score of 87, and because of this, it sold well. Unlike Crystal Dynamics' Avenger, which has the same brand recognition and lost Square Enix $67 million due to its abysmal sales. This same developer, with amazing pedigree, produced the Xbox console exclusive Sunset Overdrive, which was critically acclaimed, receiving a Metacritic score of 81, yet had abysmal sales, which are estimated at just 1.16 million units. Another great game, neglected by Microsoft fans, was the console exclusive Quantum Break by Remedy Games, a developer that was previously loyal to Microsoft during the 360 days, making Alan Wake console exclusive. Quantum Break was a super solid game introducing cutscenes in the form of television-like episodes. This game played well and had phenomenal story elements, despite me hating everything time travel related. I'm talking about you, Avengers. Sunset Overdrive was well received by critics, but did not sell well. Microsoft refusing to ever disclose the sales numbers, not a practice that screams confidence. Then you have games like Titanfall, which was developer Respawn's first game, and would be Xbox One exclusive. This game actually performed well, which was an Xbox One launch title, but Microsoft would fail to secure exclusivity for the sequel. Then you have the games that were initially exclusive to Microsoft that they could not hold on to as developers expanded their games to other platforms. This may have been fueled by low sales numbers, but regardless, shame on Microsoft for not shelling out some money like Sony does and locking in these exclusives, such as Cuphead and Ori and the Blind Forest and its sequel. It's not anti-consumer to lock in exclusives. You and Sony are competing for the same audience of consumers. Incentivize people to want to buy an Xbox. As previously mentioned, Xbox fanboys, you have to play other games besides Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed. You are the reason there are no third-party exclusive offerings on the Xbox One, and Series X will suffer a similar fate if you continue to not buy and support good games. Expand your mind. The same narrow-mindedness that made Xbox dead on arrival doesn't allow you to play a variety of games that don't feature Master Chief or Marcus Phoenix. Clearly, Microsoft has recognized this as a problem and is attempting to correct this with the upcoming generation. Their renewed commitment to ensuring that Xbox has great exclusive games is evident in many of their recent game studio acquisitions over the years. This has been a mixed bag of success and failure, but their implementation of said strategy so far has been garbage. Microsoft isn't playing around with this upcoming generation. It has taken a page from Sony's playbook and acquiring studios with incredible pedigree in an attempt to ensure Xbox has heavy-hitting exclusives. These games are being delivered free with your Game Pass subscription as well, which is simply amazing. Some notable successes are Grounded and The Outer Worlds, which came out as a result of the Obsidian acquisition. Once again, implementation was an issue. They should have never let The Outer Worlds appear on the PlayStation 4. They also acquired Ninja Theory, the creators of the incredible Hellblade, which would make the next project Xbox exclusive, which would come in the form of Bleeding Edge. This game would be an incredible critical flop and its user base is non-existent, with the game seemingly abandoned. There are less than 40 concurrent players on average, and the developer hasn't tweeted or updated fans about patches or balancing issues since August. There is a glimmer of hope though, as this acquisition will seemingly make Hellblade 2 an Xbox console exclusive. While these acquisitions have been a mixed bag of successes and failures, only the future will show us if they will pay out, but Microsoft needs to start playing for the W. They acquired the studio that makes Minecraft, but don't have the stones to make it Xbox console exclusive and PC exclusive via Game Pass. Why spend $2.5 billion buying something like this and then not use it to incentivize people into buying your console? They recently acquired Bethesda, a behemoth in the industry, owning properties like Skyrim, Fallout, Doom, Dishonored, Prey, and the upcoming very exciting Ghostwire Tokyo. This acquisition cost Microsoft $7.5 billion and have still yet to commit that their entire library of games will be console and Game Pass PC exclusive. What an asinine move to make. If you are going to spend this kind of money, lock in the games exclusive on your console. You don't see Sony acquiring Insomniac for $229 million and allowing Miles Morales Spider-Man on Xbox. It makes no sense. Play for the win. The final problem with Xbox Series X strategy is, why would anyone want to buy an Xbox Series X? Microsoft has said there will be no console exclusives the first year. Many heavy-hitting exclusives have been delayed, such as Halo Infinite, The Medium, The Ascent, and one of their main launch titles, The Falconeer, received a Metacritic score of 60, as opposed to Sony's launch library, including Miles Morales Spider-Man, which at the time of writing this is sitting at a Metacritic score of 85, and Astro's Playroom at an 82. Obviously subject to change between recording this and it being published. I would like to say I fully support delays to improve the quality of the product and avoid crunch for employees. It hurts Microsoft nonetheless, so it's worth noting. There just seems to be no reason to buy an Xbox One at launch, especially when every single upcoming game announcement is available via Game Pass PC. Why would I not simply play on my PC as opposed to an additional $500 investment for the Series X or $300 for Series S, which is an amazing price point, by the way. The problem seems that Xbox is not committed to ensuring that their hardware sales are successful. They are more concerned with locking you into a Game Pass subscription. While I would acknowledge I love Game Pass and I think it's the best thing that Xbox has going for it, just check out my video on how I say it's currently superior to Sony PS Plus collection. But if I can play all the newly announced games for free with my Game Pass subscription on nearly all of the current Xbox ecosystem, spanning with what will be 2 console generations, and on my PC, why would I buy a very expensive piece of hardware? For more frame rate and higher resolution? Maybe that is enough incentive for some, but you need to do better to earn my money. It would very much seem like Microsoft is not committed to the success of their new hardware, and seems like they are going more down the route of software developer / publisher, like what happened to Sega. I have to believe this, as it seems their only mission is to push Game Pass as opposed to incentivizing me to play those games on their new hardware, as opposed to what I already have. I know I will ultimately buy an Xbox, but when the time is right. They don't get my money just because, especially after how terribly they botched the Xbox One. Microsoft is doing something right with their renewed commitment to ensuring quality games are available on Xbox, but they need to start playing for the win and take these newly acquired studios and make their games available only on Xbox consoles and Game Pass PC. They need to incentivize people to buy their hardware, which right now, there is little to no reason. Stop focusing on how much power is under the hood and focus on putting out high quality games and courting third-party developers to put out exclusive titles. Xbox likes to criticize Sony for being anti-consumer with locking in exclusive games, content, timed DLC, and timed exclusive. These practices are not anti-consumer, they are pro-consumer, for the consumers that buy PS5s. This is a competition for the same audience who has limited resources. It's simple economics. Microsoft, start playing for the win, or this will be your last console. I hope that you enjoyed this content and found my analysis to be fair. I am not a Sony fanboy, I am a gamer, and I have been blessed with the ability to buy all consoles and have owned every console generation since the NES days. I will own all consoles with this upcoming generation as well. I will praise when necessary and call out the companies when necessary. Each company will get held under the microscope for the sake of fairness. Sony and Nintendo lovers, please stop this video from being my most disliked video at the hands of Xbox fanboys. So please click on the like button and defend me. And while you're at it, subscribe for more great analysis on all things games. Always remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Until next time.